Thank you very much, Silvia. And I'm Sergio Busnelli from TSC Solutions. I'm the coordinator of the MSEE Manufacturing Service Ecosystem project. MSEE has two main aims. One is to improve service orientation in manufacturing industry. Second, to improve collaboration for service innovation in ecosystems. So these are the two main aspects we are focusing, and we are focusing by means of developing methodologies, models, ontologies, IT tools, and platforms in order to support manufacturing industries in these two main aims. What do we mean by service orientation in manufacturing industry? Around 10 years ago, Professor Klaus-Dieter Koben from the University of Bremen elaborated the concept of extended product, which means a product which also embeds some services, and then he elaborated the 4 steps degree of servitization for the manufacturing industry. MSEE is mostly focusing on the last 2 steps, step 3 and step 4. Step 3 is when a service is differentiating a product, and you will see just afterwards a case coming from the washing machine, from the white goods industry. And the step 4 is when the service is substituting the offer on the market. For instance, step 3 is when you first think of a service, and then together with the product department, you develop a product together with the service department, a product which is able to support this service, and not vice versa, that you have a large stock of products, unsold products, and then you try to invent which service could make this product more attractive for the market. And so the main aim is to find the service department and the product department inside the same company or in an ecosystem of companies collaborate and exchange information. This is also related to the relation between PLM and SLM. I was visiting a very important aeronautical industry 2 weeks ago in Italy, and I asked them, what is the percentage of services revenues? And they said 35%. Ooh, 35% services. And could I speak with your chief service engineer? What is a service engineer? So they know very well what a product engineer is, they know very well what a chief product engineer is, but they don't know service engineering. What is it? You know that IBM coined the term SS&E, Service Science Management and Engineering, some time ago, but it was for the tertiary sector. It was for ICT, it was for banking and finance, it was for tertiary sector. MSEE is trying to find a service engineering methodology for the manufacturing sector. And it is a service engineering which is strictly linked to the PLM. So we cannot have SLM and PLM separated. Second point is ecosystem. So also big companies like Indesit washing machine, in order to really implement a service orientation strategy, they need to open collaborations. They cannot do this challenge by themselves. And we have in our consortium also Philips, another big enterprise. And they need an ecosystem of service providers in order to implement a serious service strategy. And increasingly also SMEs. SMEs cannot meet the service orientation challenge alone. They need alliances, they need ecosystems. Here I was invited to present a success story, a test case. This test case is from Indesit. Indesit is a white goods manufacturer, is located in Italy, and the service they are going to provide is called Carefree Washing Service. That is a service which will be easier to use, Safer, because it will provide more information about the status, the situation of the washing machine, and more sustainable, because it will include embedded some knowledge, some intelligence in order to save energy and to use the right detergent. For implementing this test case, Indesit built 50 washing machines, 50 prototypes of washing machines, and they put these washing machines in 50 homes. And they are now collecting the data and monitoring the data about the usage of these new tools. And this is the methodology of MSEE. MSEE is starting from an ecosystem of several industries and several organizations, which is a long-term alliance. It is like a breeding environment for those of you who know the EcoLinda project, which was mentioned yesterday. And out of this ecosystem, which includes also, for instance, detergent suppliers, energy suppliers, automation, home automation, software companies, universities, and research centers, out of them, they generate ideas and they create a business-oriented virtual enterprise in order to create a service. The service in this case is called the car-free washing service. It's very, very important also another aspect, that is how to model the consumers. Because service is value co-creation. And so service is really the synthesis between technology push and market pull. If you are able to do and to model very well the service, then you are winning your challenge in the market. The point is that you must know your product, but you must know your consumers, you must know your target. This was an analysis made by Indesit about the typical profiles of users. And according to the profiles of users, they are going to provide different services to these users. Now, you could maybe question if the house manager is a lady and the static guy is a man sitting on the couch, on the sofa. I invited the Indesit people to switch the two, but they didn't hear this. For instance, this is an experiment we made with a housewife using the new washing machine several times and monitoring the washes she did, and then in the end you will see that this lady will receive precious suggestions how to optimize the washing. And this is also very important for us, for husbands. For instance, if you don't want to have our underwear pink after the washing. One of the suggestions is not to mix the colors, for instance. And other suggestions are how to select the best detergent and the dosage of the best detergent. And you will see this application is an app, is a mobile app, which we have developed in the project, and which is taking the data from the machine, the washing machine, and then the washing machine was modified properly in order to allow Internet of Things. And so inside the MSEE project, we have also aspects of Internet of Things, data gathering, cloud computing, and all the basic future Internet technologies. Okay, these are examples of suggestions. Separate color, cool is better, that you are using too warm water, choose the most suitable detergent, clean your washing machine because you need maintenance. And this is more or less what I have to say about MSEE. I have to remind you that I'm also the coordinator of another project which is called Fitman, and it is in the Future Internet PPP. And so it is in another PPP, and it addresses the testing of future Internet genetic enablers in the manufacturing domain. And for this project, which started the 1st of April, there will be open calls. And so I invite you to follow our website or the website of the Future Internet PPP, because before Horizon 2020, there will be some open calls coming from the Future Internet PPP. As you know, Oscar Lazaro was supposed to run this section, and Silvia and myself have now the honor to substitute Oscar in this activity. Now the point is the impact of our virtual factory cluster in these 6 dimensions: cost, revenues, quality, flexibility, innovation, and sustainability. We analyzed a bit our project, and we found out that maybe we are too advanced, in the sense that we are thinking mostly on flexibility, innovation, sustainability, and not too much about cost and revenues, which are the traditional parameters for the manufacturing industry. We put this question, for instance, to industry, because of course the new model of the washing machine, which is an Aqualtis washing machine, will cost more or less 50 to 100 euro more than the high-level model for washing machines. But they are convinced that the services this new machine is going to provide to the consumers could be accepted not by all the consumers. You have seen the different profiles of consumers, but just for some niche of consumers, this major cost would be acceptable with respect to the sustainability, the environmental issue, and the energetical issue which this new service is going to provide. And so maybe we are too advanced, and so my invitation to this cluster would be maybe to come back to the traditional time, cost, and quality KPIs. But of course, our project have a longer perspective in this sense. Another point I would like to stress in this discussion about our virtual factory cluster is the close link between business and technologies. This is a common characteristic of all our projects. And so we are focusing not just on the technologies, but we are very focusing also on new business model. For instance, the service orientation I spoke about allows new business models to be created, and really some transformation in the manufacturing industry, and maybe just 10% more of revenues coming from the services could have a very dramatic impact, a positive impact on growth and jobs for these companies. And so, in our project, we always keep together this twofold dimension. The dimension of the business and the dimension of the ICT technologies. And this is also demonstrated by some statements our project made in order to the business perspective for Horizon 2020. For MSEE, as I told, service orientation of manufacturing industry, which does not mean to abandon manufacturing, but to reinforce manufacturing. For instance, the test case, the textile test case, which was kept for reasons of time, was an example that they came back from China to produce the shirts locally, thanks to the service orientation of the supply chain. When they digitized the supply chain, they could select the best location where to produce, and for high-level shirts, of course not for low-level shirts, they found more convenient to produce in Europe than to produce in China, and to deliver the shirts in 48 hours from the order. Then we have linear design, and they focus more on SMEs and and real-time end-to-end production cycle. Imagine coined this new term, which is cloud factoring, and maybe the guy who presented, or Antonis could explain better what cloud factoring is. And most important is production management as a service. So this servicization of the production is very, very important. Because in IT, we already know SOA since 15 years now. And we know that by representing IT components as service, we could easily compose, orchestrate, and create new services. And this model, this paradigm, could also be done in the manufacturing. And this is one of the challenges we are posing about business. Convantage, seamless collaboration, and trustful ICT. This is very, very important. As I told you, I'm now also in the future internet PPP, and trust is one of the major issues the manufacturing companies are asking from the ICT providers. And I have to say that the answers are not convincing for the moment so much. Anyway, trustful ICT is something we should really achieve in Horizon 2020. For Premenos, business model for trading of life cycle information, which is again very, very important. And then EPES as a means empowerment and interchangeable software services, and Adventure, which was presented in the previous session B by Gashbola, is relational business process support. What we could say here is that new business models could be allowed by virtual factories, and SMEs empowerment, SMEs orientation is one of our major challenges for Horizon 2020. Regarding the technical perspective, MSEE is providing a collaboration platform between product and service lifecycle. That is how we put together product and service lifecycle. Lean design is again collaboration. Imagine is coined the term network of networks and collaboration as well. And Convantage, data security, anonymization, privacy management, and then performance. Cloud manufacturing could also be realized whenever the performances are acceptable. Otherwise, there is no way to implement our solutions in the cloud. Premenos, again, security and use of standards and interoperability. EPES, another point, interoperability. Somebody mentioned before that interoperability is not just data interoperability. Interoperability is much more complex, and we have, for instance, business process interoperability, models interoperability, till to organizational interoperability, as you mentioned before. And then how to monitor and how to measure the success of an ecosystem, the success of the supply chain, the success of the value network. This is very important because KPIs must be found, must be designed and developed in order to measure the success of a collaboration. And then extreme full interoperability of the innovation management. So this is another point. Innovation management could be an oxymoron, maybe for somebody. So you cannot drive innovation, you cannot manage innovation. But in manufacturing, I believe yes. We must be able also to give some direction, to give some governance to innovation. It is not possible just to have one guy with a brilliant idea and develop an overall system. In manufacturing, this is not our model. Our model is a model of collaboration. It's not a model of the genius Archimedes, who has Archimedes in the cartoons, who has an idea and he developed an overall system alone. This is not our model. So our model, and the Virtual Factories cluster is stressing this, is collaboration. Collaboration for innovation. And then we have the conclusions. Silvia? Yes, let's conclude in a beautiful way.
Thank you. Okay. Well, conclusions, some of them are also conclusions that we will share with the other two series that we heard today. So, of course, we want to build a very strong background on collaboration technologies we've seen through all the different projects we presented, interoperability, modeling, service composition, focusing on SMEs. We want to have SMEs grow on infrastructure and tools and allowing them using platforms for standardization. Well, as you see, we have some more potential exits on further the competitive advantage in terms of cost. We want to reduce costs. We want to improve availability of tools. Collaboration platforms are going to be a very important focus also in the next Horizon 2020, allowing new ICT services to SMEs for the manufacturing or also technological services. ICT collaboration technologies will remain and are still key pillars towards innovative European value networks. That is also one of the issues that FRMS will be taking good care of. ICT technologies also have to be tailored to allow SMEs compete and bring Europe further on. Horizon 2020 is, as said before, going to focus on mobile enterprise innovation. That will be one of the key issues that we'll have to think about on our next projects, and also the processes in terms of collaboration and technologies that will be supporting the needs. So that's all. We wanted now to bring up some discussions. These items of mine is coming out at every moment, so sorry. So maybe we could go back to the impact, or?
Yes, maybe you could go to the statements of the different projects just at the end. Yeah. Or has anybody a question to the presentation so far?
Yeah,
we installed the mic, so you should exploit this chance.
People.
There is a guy in the back. I have one question. Please. So, don't make me to play to call this. So.
Okay, we want to bring up also the question, how do you think we could improve the impact of our projects? As we've seen before, one of the big problems that we have so far is to create new business models and to bring also that into the market, or also some issues such as costs that were not tackled for our projects. So how do you think we can improve those aspects that seem to be our problems so far in the Factories of the Future project we presented?
I was waiting for you. I did give everyone a chance, but nobody took it. So to look at this particular slide, I think part of the challenges Sergio also mentioned, that the research that they're looking forward is all about flexibility, innovation, and sustainability, and yet we know that the manufacturing sector as a whole is still looking at the sort of old principles. I think one of the challenges is how we look, and I reiterate it, how we look at the implementation of these new technologies into SMEs, into the manufacturing sector. Because it's all very well identifying issues. I think everybody understands issues. But to make them happen, they've got to be incorporated. So I think it's very, very clear. We have a very clear implementation plan for what we're developing here.
Okay, thank you, Gash. Any other comment or Question?
Maybe I should not compare to the other session, but what I like about the session is that you try to create a unique selling position in a way that you say, well, if you imagine collaboration, and that's the advantage for different companies. And you have concrete examples like the Dissemination washing machine, like the manufacturing of furniture, or the different chairs, and also mentioned the shirts, application of shirts. So we have concrete examples, and then you start with the examples, and then you try to extrapolate and wrap it up to a wider case. So I think that's very useful in the end for best practice on the one hand, and how could you then transpose that and extrapolate to other areas where services can bring added value, particularly for SMEs. I think that's also one of the basic what we think of these, what we call innovation support pilots. We have to have a strong baseline and then, to wrap it up and to widen the application and the best practices, particularly SME suppliers or users. So I think it was a good example.
Yeah, I fully agree. So I think we need two ingredients, basically. One is real demonstrators and best practices that collaboration and virtual organization, virtual factories are beneficial for the manufacturing industry. Second, we must guarantee the proper level of security, privacy, and trust of the information, because otherwise collaboration will never fly. And this is if you want, this is a requirement we give to our colleagues which are studying, for instance, the ICT security or the future internet technologies. That is, our domain needs security and privacy in order to collaborate, in order to share information and knowledge, because our information and our knowledge is vital for our business.
I think that's a very, very important point about security and privacy, but there is no 100% level of security and privacy. So you have to define different levels of security and privacy, and that could be different for different market segments, for different products. So if you have a best practice, I've seen one of the small network SMEs have put their data on the cloud, that worked very well, and that was reliable, and that generated some additional income. The acceptance and the barriers for using this service gets low. So security is not in absolute terms. So we have to show that it works and it was secure for some cases, and then you might get some others.
Fully agree. The point is that also your credit card is not 100% secure, and everybody is using it. So the method is to convince people that collaboration is beneficial. That collaboration brings benefit to the manufacturing industry.
Just a comment on that. I think it comes right there to privacy, which is linked to innovation and how to do innovation. And I think there was also in one of the projects there was an objective trustfulness, etc. So I think these are about trust development. And trust is something that we can develop step by step. Privacy and this kind of technologies can support trust development. And if you see also experience of small companies, they become big. They start by two people that they trust each other, or two small companies that trust each other, and they don't care a lot about this privacy, etc. So I think maybe this is maybe other projects they work on that. It's not only technology, it's cultures. In Europe, we are in a multicultural environment. We have to learn to trust each other from south to north, for example, or whatever. And this is something that we can support by technology, develop step by step. And I think this might have maybe something to implement also in projects, including social sciences and psychology and all that.
Okay, very good. Sibyl, do you have anything to add?
Not from my side. I would like to thank all of you for listening, but apart from that, yeah, so thank you.